On the night of her 10th wedding anniversary, Anna stood beneath warm yellow lights, surrounded by elegant music and more than 100 guests. Her husband, Mark, lifted a silver envelope and smiled as if presenting a gift wrapped in love. If it weren't for me, he joked loudly, Anna would still be choosing curtain colors. People laughed, but Anna's hands felt like ice. When she opened the envelope, her eyes met a property division contract already signed by the man who once swore eternal devotion. In that moment, Anna realized the celebration was not an anniversary party but the funeral of her marriage. Later that night, the house felt painfully quiet, the ticking clock the only sound she could hear. On the desk lay a small black hard drive, harmless at first glance but heavy with secrets she feared to uncover. She sat down slowly, plugged it into her laptop, and waited as the screen flickered to life. Then she heard Mark's voice, smooth, confident, cold, speaking as if she were a problem to remove. "One more week," he said, "and I'll have the company and the reputation. She won't even know what happened." Anna paused, not out of fear but out of disbelief that the man she once trusted had become a stranger plotting her downfall. She replayed the recording, listening closely to the clink of glasses, the scrape of a chair, and the faint laughter of the lawyer advising him. Every line exposed a scheme designed to strip her of everything she had built. When the audio ended, Anna opened her notebook, the one she always carried, and wrote down each detail carefully. "Numbers don't lie," she whispered, steadying her breath. The betrayal hurt, but the clarity was sharper than pain. She knew she could no longer rely on promises. She had to trust data, proof, and her own resilience. 3 days later, when Anna arrived at the office, something had shifted. Whispered conversations stopped the moment she entered the hallway, and familiar faces avoided her eyes with uneasy guilt. In the conference room, Lily, the junior staff member Anna once mentored, stood confidently presenting the quarterly media plan. At the head of the table, Mark nodded approvingly, his expression smooth and rehearsed. When the meeting ended, he smiled and said, "Anna, Lily did great. Maybe you should let her take over the communications role." Anna met his gaze calmly and replied, "You mean replace me?" His quiet smirk said everything. That afternoon, Anna called Julia, the head of the legal department, her voice steady but heavy with purpose. "I need copies of all share transfer documents from the past 2 months," she said. Julia hesitated before answering softly, "Anna, are you sure you want to know?" "I need to," Anna replied. "It's not about wanting." 2 hours later, she sat on her living room floor marking every line with a red pen. Her shares, 32%, had been transferred to a hidden company named MG Holdings, registered under Mark's name. She gave a faint, bitter laugh. "So legal," she whispered. "So calculated." That night, Anna couldn't sleep. She sat beside the window watching the city lights melt into a river of gold beneath the rain. Inside her laptop was a folder she hadn't opened yet, a folder that held answers she feared but needed. When she finally clicked it, she found screenshots of emails Mark had titled Asset Consolidation Plan. Step by step, he listed how he would take over the company before a major contract was signed. His final note read, "Ensure Anna's financial competence is questioned." She read every line slowly, memorizing each detail like a survivor learning the map of a battlefield. At exactly 2 a.m., Anna sent a short message to Julia. "Meet me at the old cafe tomorrow at 7:30. Don't call. Bring the original contracts." The next morning, the cafe smelled of roasted coffee and rain-soaked coats as Julia slid into the booth with a tense expression. "Anna, if this blows up, he could accuse you of unauthorized access," she whispered. Anna stirred her tea calmly. "If I stay silent, I lose everything. If I speak, at least I keep the truth." Julia pushed a thick file toward her. "You look calm," she murmured. "Scarily calm." Anna only smiled faintly. Later that day, Anna walked past Mark's office, stopping when she heard his voice through the cracked door. "Don't worry, Lily," he said, low and confident. "She has no evidence. 1 more week, and everything will be mine." Lily laughed softly and asked, "Are you sure?" "She's smart." Mark replied, "Smart doesn't beat prepared." Anna stood quietly, her heartbeat steady, listening to the man who believed she was powerless. But she didn't confront them. She simply walked away, her silence sharper than any argument, already planning how to dismantle his perfect lie. That night, Anna backed up every file onto a secure hard drive and named the folder Mirror Truth. The dim streetlight outside made the device glimmer, as if urging her forward. She whispered to herself, "I see what's behind the mirror now." Moments later, her phone vibrated with a message from an unknown sender. Check the folder Mirror on the old server. No name. No explanation. Just a single line that made her sit up straight. With trembling fingers, she opened her laptop again, feeling the room grow colder as she prepared to unlock whatever truth waited for her next. It took Anna nearly half an hour to bypass the old encrypted network Mark once replaced. When the hidden mirror folder finally appeared, 8 video files blinked on the screen. She clicked the first one and watched as Mark and Lily sat in a dim conference room, signing papers under her name. What if someone finds out? Lily whispered. No one will, Mark replied smoothly. Everything will point back to Anna. Anna leaned closer, her face pale in the soft glow of the screen. She clicked the second video, bracing herself as Mark's voice filled the room again, cold, calculated, and merciless. The second video showed Mark alone, speaking on the phone in the small side office Anna once used for private meetings. She doesn't understand anything, he said calmly. Let the media speculate. When the shareholders get scared, they'll want a man's voice to steady them. His tone was casual, almost bored, as if discussing an office printer rather than his wife's downfall. When the playback ended, Anna stared at the frozen frame of his face. She whispered, "You never loved me. You only loved the power I gave you." Then she clicked the third file with steady, determined fingers. More videos revealed more of his schemes, secret meetings, hidden contracts, even forged signatures practiced multiple times. Each clip tightened the knot inside her chest, but with each discovery, her resolve sharpened. She saved the evidence to a separate drive, encrypting it with the date of her first company contract. The day she thought her life with Mark was beginning. As dawn crept through the window, she whispered, "I won't cry. Not anymore." She closed her laptop and sat in silence, no longer grieving, but preparing. The next morning, the lobby felt colder as Anna walked in. Rumors about her filled the internet, articles filled with doubt, comments dripping with cruelty. When she stepped into the elevator, a young employee whispered, "Ms. Anna. I don't believe what they're saying." Anna offered a small smile. "Thank you. But for now, say nothing." On the 12th floor, she stepped out and saw her pale reflection on the glass wall. She barely recognized herself, a tired woman with sharp eyes, but eyes that held a new kind of strength. Inside the executive office, Mark stood by the window, pretending to look responsible. When Anna entered, he didn't even turn fully. "Anna, I don't think you should be here," he said with false concern. "I only came to collect my documents," she replied softly. He smirked. "These aren't your documents anymore. Everything belongs to the company. And I'm the only one stable enough to manage it." Anna looked directly at him. "If I were unstable, Mark, do you think I'd be standing this calmly?" For a moment he paused, but then, as always, he pretended not to hear the truth. He picked up the phone and said sharply, "Security, escort Ms. Anna out. She's temporarily barred from the building." She didn't fight. She simply walked out, letting him believe he had already won. Outside, the cold air stung her cheeks, but her resolve only grew firmer. She whispered, "If he thinks this is the end, he has no idea what I'm capable of." That afternoon, she drove to the company's old office, the first building they ever worked in. Its faded paint and dusty windows felt like a forgotten memory, waiting for her return. Inside that small room, Anna opened her laptop at the old wooden desk, breathing in the scent of the past. She sent a copy of the evidence to the only person she still trusted, David, the former head accountant Mark fired. He replied in minutes, "I know what he's doing. Meet me at Ridgeview Cafe at 7. Bring the drive." The cafe was dim, with soft piano music and warm lights that felt strangely comforting. When she sat across from David, he didn't ask questions. He simply opened the files, his eyes narrowing as he scanned. "You're planning to use this," David said calmly. Anna nodded. "I have no choice." He leaned back, his voice firm but quiet. "Then we need strategy, not emotion. You must let him believe he's safe. Only then can we take everything back." Anna met his eyes. "I understand. And trust me, I'm patient." David smiled faintly. Good. Because you're the only person I've met who can turn betrayal into justice. That night, Anna returned home with a new sense of clarity, feeling the storm inside her finally settle into purpose. Over the next week, Anna and David worked quietly, shaping their counterplan like architects rebuilding a broken city. David recruited trusted staff members, while Anna prepared a clean new company structure named Aurora Design Group. Aurora means new dawn, David said. And that's what you're creating. Anna held the papers, imagining a future without Mark's shadow. She began meeting employees privately, guiding them with gentle honesty. I'm not asking you to leave anything behind, she told them. I'm asking you to stand with me when truth finally comes out. Meanwhile, Anna deliberately let small rumors spread, whispers that she planned to resign, that she was stepping down quietly. Journalists she once helped published gentle hints about her possible departure. Mark saw the news, smiled, and relaxed, believing he had already crushed her. She's giving up, he told Lily one evening. Everything is falling into place. But while he celebrated, Anna and David finalized financial structures, legal protections, and partnerships with a major rival firm Mark once mocked. Each step brought her closer to the moment she would reveal everything. By the end of the week, Anna sat in her living room with a final stack of evidence spread before her: videos, emails, forged signatures, illegal transfers. David called her that evening. The board meeting is set, he said. Tomorrow at 6. This is where everything changes. Anna closed her eyes, letting the weight of the moment settle. Then tomorrow, she whispered, the truth walks into the room with me. She looked at her reflection in the window, strong, calm, and ready. For the first time in months, she felt no fear. Only certainty. The next evening, the boardroom lights glowed across the long table as Anna walked in with David and her lawyer, Patricia. The Manhattan skyline shimmered behind them like a silent witness. Mark entered moments later, wearing the confident smile of a man convinced of victory. He sat at the head of the table and whispered to Lily, "Watch how easily this ends tonight." But when Anna opened her folder and met his eyes, something in the room shifted. A quiet strength radiated from her, one that even Mark had never seen before. The chairman cleared his throat. Ms. Anna requested this emergency meeting regarding corporate governance. Anna nodded politely. Yes. I will let the evidence speak for itself. Patricia dimmed the lights, and the first video projected onto the wall, Mark's voice instructing Lily on forging signatures and letting the ink dry for 3 days. A heavy silence fell over the room. On the screen, his calm voice said, "Everything will fall under Anna's name." Mark jumped to his feet. This is fake. But the board members looked at him with growing disbelief. Patricia placed a stack of authenticated documents on the table. This evidence was taken from the internal server and verified by legal timestamps. Mark swallowed hard as David clicked through more files: bank transfers, fake agreements, manipulated contracts. Finally, David displayed the forged signature analysis. The board stared, stunned. Lily's hands trembled. "Mark, you said no one could trace it." He glared at her angrily, but even she stepped back. The room no longer belonged to him. For the first time, Mark looked uncertain, trapped in the web he had spun. Then David revealed the second blow: a signed partnership agreement between Anna's new company, Aurora Design Group, and the major firm Mark once insulted publicly. Aurora already secured a $48 million contract, David explained calmly. Key staff members have legally transitioned. Gasps filled the room. Lily whispered, "Aurora is yours?" Anna nodded gently. "It belongs to people who still believe in honesty." The board murmured among themselves. Everyone could now see the truth. Leadership had already shifted, and Mark was no longer the center of the empire he claimed to control. The board's senior member, Mr. Howard, slowly stood. His stern eyes fixed on Mark. "You manipulated company assets, forged documents, and attempted to blame Ms. Anna. This is not leadership." The chairman lifted the gavel. Effective immediately, Mark is suspended as CEO pending investigation. No applause followed. Only the cold, echoing sound of the gavel striking wood. Mark stared at Anna with hatred, whispering, "You think you've won?" She met his gaze calmly. Winning was never the goal. Freedom was. His chair scraped loudly as he stormed out. News spread like wildfire. Within 3 days, all assets under Mark's name were frozen. Cameras flashed as he was questioned outside courthouse steps, his once perfect suit wrinkled and damp. Headlines called it the fall of Mark Grant. Anna didn't watch the coverage. She focused on Aurora's new office layout, choosing warm colors and open spaces. Sarah entered with a newspaper, saying softly, "Everyone is talking about your strength." Anna smiled gently. "Strength is quiet, Sarah. Loudness is fear trying to look brave." And she went back to reviewing designs. One afternoon, the broker contacted her. The penthouse she once shared with Mark, now under court control, was being sold. "If you'd like to buy it back, we can prioritize your offer," he said. Anna agreed, though not for the reasons he expected. When she entered the penthouse again, it looked untouched yet lifeless. Dust on the piano, frozen memories on the walls. She walked slowly through each room, touching nothing. This was no longer home. It was a museum of a life she had already buried long ago. She closed the piano lid gently and whispered, "Thank you, but goodbye." She opened the windows, letting in fresh cold air that swept through the silent space. The Hudson River shimmered in the fading light. For the first time, standing in that apartment, she felt no grief, only freedom. Later, a journalist asked, "Do you regret buying the place back?" Anna replied softly, "I didn't lose a husband. I let go of a debt." By morning, the quote went viral, but she didn't care about fame. She cared about healing. A year later, Aurora thrived. Anna became a respected voice in leadership conferences, often called a symbol of resilience. One rainy afternoon at the office, Sarah handed her a cream-colored envelope. "This arrived. No return address," she whispered. Inside was a letter in familiar handwriting. "No one understands a liar better than the one who once lived on his lies. Thank you for ending what our family never had the courage to." It was signed, David Grant. Anna froze. Grant. David. Mark. Suddenly, pieces shifted inside her mind. That night, unable to sleep, Anna reviewed old HR documents until she uncovered the truth. David was Mark's half-brother, the forgotten son, the one pushed aside and erased. The next day, she received a small package with a photo of 2 boys in winter, Mark smiling brightly, David standing quietly beside him. A USB held David's final message. "You weren't a tool. You were the only one brave enough to finish what I started." His voice was calm, distant. "Don't look for me. Think of us as 2 people who survived the same storm." Anna closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you for walking part of the path with me." A cold drizzle fell the next evening as Anna walked through the quiet streets, David's letter still echoing in her mind. She hadn't expected the truth to tie them together so deeply, that both she and David had lived in the shadow of Mark's lies. She opened the window in her study, letting the damp air brush her face. "Some storms," she murmured, "are bigger than one person." She imagined David somewhere far away, closing his own chapter. And for the first time, she felt a gentle ache not of pain, but of understanding. A few days later, while buying groceries in a small Brooklyn store, Anna froze when she saw a familiar figure at the end of the aisle. Mark. He looked thinner, older, with gray streaks at his temples and a tired slump in his shoulders. He lifted 2 packs of pasta, examining the price with a quiet desperation. When he finally turned and saw her, his eyes widened, not with anger but with shame. "Anna," he whispered, his voice soft and uncertain. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." She stood still, holding her basket, surprised by the calm inside her. There was no trembling, no fear, only a quiet acceptance of what stood before her. "Looks like life changed for you," she said gently. Mark gave a small, shaky laugh. "I'm working part-time now, just enough to live." His eyes lowered. "Are you doing well?" She nodded. "Better than ever." The distance between them felt heavier than any wall. He took a step forward, but she stepped back, softly, firmly. "You once said," she told him quietly, "that light always reflects. If you want to understand someone, look into the mirror." Mark swallowed hard, eyes flickering with memories he could no longer escape. Anna tilted her head slightly. "So tell me, what do you see in your mirror now?" He didn't answer. His hand trembled, and the pasta pack fell, scattering across the tile. He stared at the broken pieces as if seeing the shattered remains of his own choices. The man who once ruled rooms now couldn't lift his own past. He whispered, "Anna, there are things I got wrong for too long." She nodded, not with forgiveness but with peace. "That's life, Mark. We all face the truth eventually." She looked toward the door, sunlight fading outside. Mirrors don't distort people. People distort themselves. His eyes softened, not with hope, but with late understanding. She picked up her basket and walked past him. He didn't follow. He simply lowered his head, letting the moment settle like dust in an empty house. Outside, the cool evening air wrapped around Anna like a gentle reminder that endings don't always need noise. The automatic doors closed behind her with a soft sigh, like a final chapter sealing itself shut. She walked slowly toward her car, watching the streetlights flicker to life. Children laughed somewhere in the distance, a sound bright and untouched by the burdens of grown hearts. She realized then that she didn't hate Mark. She didn't need revenge anymore. She had already reclaimed the one thing that mattered, her own peace. At a red light, Anna glanced at her hand. The small diamond ring she had bought for herself sparkled faintly, catching the glow of passing cars. Not a symbol of romance, but of survival. Her phone chimed with a message from Sarah. "Aurora just got nominated for the Creative Design Award. The team is crying. Come celebrate." Anna let out a soft, warm laugh. The world moved around her, busy, loud, alive. She felt ready to rejoin it, not as someone broken, but as someone reborn through truth. As she drove across the Brooklyn Bridge, the city lights spread beneath her like scattered stars. A soft jazz tune played on the radio, blending with the wind slipping through the half-open window. She remembered David's voice, steady, calm, saying they were two strangers who survived the same storm. Maybe he was right. Some people walk into our lives not to stay, but to help us finish a road we cannot finish alone. And when their part is done, they disappear quietly, leaving only the strength they helped us build. Anna turned onto her quiet street, golden leaves sweeping along the sidewalk in gentle spirals. Warm lights glowed from windows of nearby homes, people cooking dinner, laughing softly, living ordinary lives. She parked, rested her hands on the wheel, and breathed deeply. Silence surrounded her, but for the first time, it wasn't heavy. It wasn't punishment. It was healing. She stepped out of the car feeling lighter, as if shedding years of shadows. She whispered to herself, "I made it out." Inside her home, Anna sat by the window, watching the city settle into night. She thought about storms, lies, courage, and the strange paths that lead people to themselves. Then she spoke softly, words meant only for her heart. "Silence isn't defeat. Silence is choosing peace." She smiled gently, touching the small ring on her finger. In that moment, she understood something deeply. She hadn't just survived betrayal. She had rebuilt her life with her own hands. And in the quiet that followed, Anna finally felt whole again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I love reading your reactions.